certainly the best.
Hello, viewers. Welcome to Viewpoint on ITV. I am Caroline Okonji. So, today on Viewpoint, let's talk about the insecurity that has been affecting Nigeria as a country and how it affects our economy, our agricultural sector, and most importantly, our means of livelihood.
Security is the most important element if you are talking about whether state development or national development. No investment can thrive when there's no guaranteed security. And I don't think any economy can grow. I don't think any country can do well if the security architecture of that country is not such that it's able to arrest things that will make investors scared to put their investments in that very environment. And then on the issue of Donald Trump, some people say it's threatening Nigeria, but I don't think it's threatening Nigeria. The issues raised that led to Donald Trump and the Secretary of War of the United States wanting to come to Nigeria, those issues, are they real? Those are the questions to ask. The killings, are they real? Is there massacre of people, whether Christians or non-Christians? I don't believe that the people that are doing it, that they are Muslims, because I do know that Islam does not encourage killings. So for them to think that they are on some mission for God in quotes, and nobody has been able to stop them. We have a country where the security agencies have not been able to curb these things for so many years. 8 years of Buhari is gone. We are post 2 years now talking about arbitration. That's 10 years. And in a country like Nigeria, you still see where they will show you on video where people are being killed and buried. The question when some people talk, the question I always ask them is it because those that are affected are not directly related to it? So I think that the American government, coming out to say that if Nigeria cannot solve it, they want to come and solve it. I think it's a wake-up call on one, the president who is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, who is the chief security officer of Nigeria, to either do the needful and let every Nigerian feel protected within our country.
As of today, obviously insecurity has become a thing of concern for every Nigerian. And primarily from our own research, I personally have realized that the insecurity is given birth to by Nigerians themselves, uh, uh, in line with the high rate of corruption in the system. Insecurity can only reduce when the corruption level is reduced. The primary cause of insecurity in our society is lack of consequences to crime. So if there are consequences, as we all know, the Nigerians are very good in abiding to laws when there is consequences to the crime they commit. So the Nigerians are very good in taking advantage of loopholes when there is no consequences to their crime. If you pay attention to Nigerians that are in diaspora today, you realize that 80% of them are very law abiding over there. The primary reason for that is because in the Western world, the consequences to crime is non negotiable. So, but coming back home today, we all have seen it, taking a negative toll on our society, and we all are, affected by it in one way or the other. Talking about foreign intervention to Nigeria, we all, I wouldn't say we all know, but for me, it is obviously clear that this was expected at a point. It's in two ways. One way is because of the applications of the current uh, federal government, the steps they are taking to boycott American. The country we are living in right now is a one-party system, and obviously, it's not healthy for the country. We see governors, everybody moving to APC today. So Nigeria is in the state of in the state of surgery. So we need a surgery at this point because a society that does not have a competitor is as good as doomed.
What I'm about to say right now is concerning the herdsmen that come to our community here. Those are real cow. They normally come with their cow to eat people cross here in my community here. They used to come with their cow. Instead of them to move along the road so that their cow will not eat grass from the road, they will take those cows to the people's farm in community. They will be eating their cross. Some will have cassava, some will have yam. Those cows will not destroy those cross in their farm. Many occasions, those people, they will come to me, started explaining what is going on in their farm concerning the herdsmen with their cow. We don't want such a thing from the community. The way they are damaging people crossing here in community is very bad. Also, in our secondary school in Umtekon here is very bad. There is no window in those school, no door. There are some iron shed that those children are using to sit in the school. Some boys, we don't know them, they will go there, destroy those shed, pack those iron and bend it, fold it and take it to somewhere they will go and sell those iron. It's the iron that they are taking from the shed. They will remove the wool that the children will use supposed to write in school. Then we remove those one away from the shed. Then we fold the iron, take it away to go and sell it to wherever they want to sell it. We doesn't want such a thing in community. We are still pleading, we are begging so that they can also support us. It's supposed the school is well available for us. The school is well built. Those window they are be fixed. Those doors are be fixed. By the time those door or window are being locked, I believe that they can never go there and be stealing those iron share in school.
First and foremost, let me start with how it affects our livelihood. You will discover that when farmers can no longer access their farms, they can no longer cultivate crops, you find out that there is food shortage and there is food insecurity. People will be hungry and the few crops or agricultural products, the price will skyrocket, which will result in inflation. And if the prices of foodstuff increase, every other thing will increase to catch up with the prices of foodstuff. You'll find out that when there is insecurity, people can no longer travel. You find out that you see situations where buses are stopped and everybody is kidnapped. How will people do interstate and intercity economic matters or businesses? You find out that everyone is holed up in his own state or in his own city without being able to do cross-country businesses. And again, you find out that foreign investments run away from countries or places where there's insecurity. Where there's insecurity or fear of the unknown, money flies away. People start taking out their finances, their investment, and running away from that country. That is the problem Nigeria is facing, and it is not good for our economic development. And if need be, what stops us from asking for help? If your house is on fire and only you cannot quench the fire, will you not call in neighbors to help? I have spoken against his rhetoric before, but we should look beyond how he speaks. We all know Donald Trump, he will always be Trump. But we must look beyond that and see how we can be helped. Now, Donald Trump seems to have the list of people who are behind this mess that we are in. And so everyone is jittery. But Nigeria needs help. And if help is coming, we should accept it so that these bandits, these headsmen can be driven away. We must not play politics with our security. If we need help, we should accept help.
Insecurity in Nigeria ranges between banditry, insurgency, kidnapping, and of course, these ethnic clashes. We cannot rule that one out. Also, the farmer herders herdsmen clashes, we can also rule it out. And the fact remains that this has been so predominant in the north and southeast of Nigeria. And I think of recent, we started experiencing kidnapping in the south. Before now, at the advent of the democratic system in this era, there was this militants in the south. But I think at the moment, what we are experiencing now, one can only say that there is other hidden agenda which is not visible to the understanding of the natural man, because we discovered that in the north, a lot of religious crisis, so to say, because we see the Christians are being killed almost on daily basis, churches are burnt, and of recent, the United States of America alerted us that there is, of course, genocide, the massacre of the Christians in Nigeria, of which we are not ignorant of that fact, because it has been always on the news. In Benue, in Plateau, of course, Nasarawa, Borno, Adamawa, where the Christian Association of Nigeria chairman of that state was also killed. I think as it stands, the effect is so devastating. For example, you are going to discover that especially in the northern region, there's going to be restriction of movements, transportation. Of course, also in the south, because you cannot move so freely, because fear of being kidnapped is there, and this herdsmen issue, because like in our community of recent, we saw some of these people also creating some problem, resulting in killings, and of course, those things are likely to have adverse effects on our economy and, of course, in the movement of citizens.
Insecurity is affecting our culture, is affecting food production, short of food, short of yams. At the same time, years back, we see yams everywhere, plantains everywhere, and all that. So, if I may say, but Nigeria is a nation, country, and we also have a stake. But since our government are proving the otherwise, what do you expect us to do? Everywhere is security. Mini city where we are, those the security, Fulani X-Men everywhere, Nitiala and all those terrorist group and all that. Not until they browned these bandits as terrorists, I think they won't do anything about it. And to a large extent, they're being funded by powers on high. At this point, Nigerians are helpless, and that's the gospel truth. We're helpless. The nation is on the standstill, nothing is working. Nothing at all is working. And so If now our president is beginning to wake up and ask for assembly, it's the right call towards the right direction. They should wake up and do something. Because for too long, I think they're making, some persons are making profit out of this banditry and whatever is going on, this so called Boko Haram and all that. How can you have in a nation, in a country that we are Nigeria, our nation, we have no other country, whether we travel to America, wherever, we're still Nigerians. And just imagine in this same nation we have Sharia law. Does it make any sense? I will say we want Nigeria. Doesn't make any sense. I don't know if we are Nigerians anymore. I don't know the right word to say. And I think the Northerners, it's high time they wake up to know we are Nigerians. We are one Nigeria, one nation. Nigeria is not for me alone. It's not for the North. It's not for the Igbos. It's not for the Yoruba. It's not for the Edos. It's not for the Shekiri or Jaws or whatever. It's for everybody. And when we wake up to that responsibility, I think and I believe Nigeria will go forward.
The security of life and property and the welfare of the citizen is the primary obligation, the duty of the government as enshrined in our constitution, particularly under Chapter 2, precisely Section 14, Subsection 2B, where it says that the government primary responsibility shall be to provide welfare of the citizens and security of lives and property. And that, be that as it may, it seems that our security issue has lingered for such a long time, that it begins to give some inferences, that people are beginning to infer that there's more to it. There are people who are cashing out on this, our insecurity, which shows that it's being politicized. There's more to it. Because in my own honest view, I feel that whatever challenge you have in this insecurity can squarely be handled and tackled by the government, except that they are having some cold feet, probably because of some of their interests or um, inordinate benefits they are getting from it. Otherwise, if they are set to tackle insecurity, who are these insurgents that you cannot suppress? But because there are political motives, there are selfish, objectives. There are people who are making it here and there. I mean, insecurity or kidnapping and banditry have come in the realms of billions now. They now ask people for ransom in billions, in hundreds of millions. So it has become very profitable to indulge in. So people have been encouraged to get into it because government has provided a veritable ground for it to fester. So now I think that since Nigeria is a sovereign nation, foreign intervention cannot happen. America cannot invade Nigeria without incurring the wrath of the international community. But as a sovereign nation, your internal affairs are to be managed and handled by you and not to another nation. But America being the number one world police of all the nations, you don't expect them to fold their hands and watch the gory scenes that are flowing out from Nigeria every day, where people are being beheaded recklessly and ruthlessly, where people's lives have been turned upside down, people have been maimed and brutalized, people have been chased away from their ancestral homes, and nothing is being done, despite the amount of budget, huge, humongous money they've been budgeted for fighting insecurity. It ends up in private courts. And the kind of, when you fight a war that those who are fighting it are part of it, it becomes difficult to win. But most of the people fighting insurgency and insecurity are part of the problem. So that's why it becomes a problem. So I don't think that it is impossible for America to invade Nigeria. It has happened in the past.
Now we blame first the federal government and the state government, not only Edo State. It's no more news. We are aware how the bandit came into Nigeria. I would not want to dwell on it too much. It affects the community, even in the rural area. I have farmers that are even farming on their own inside my farm. I have almost 50 laborers. Do you know if I didn't employ security people, that village would not have been going to farm at all. And yet we are not feeling the impact of either the state government or the federal government. This place is a bit fair. What of Benue and Plateau? The government should wake up.
For a very long time now, the issue of our insecurity, has been quite alarming. Yes, as a nation that is suffering insecurity, the economy of such a country is going to be stagnated. As a country is also seeking to grow our economy, it is also very important that investors from around the world are attracted to invest into the economy. And then let's also look at our citizens. If there's unrest regarding, if the liberty of the people is being threatened, there's no how people can go about their daily endeavors. Right now, it's also the present issue that farmers no longer go to their farms at will because of the issue of banditry, kidnapping, and all of that, which is a major problem in our current society. It is also to that effect that we as human rights activists within our own capacity are trying out to the government to ensure that the right security apparatus is being employed, and then that the government of the day is trying to focus more their energy is being channeled to address the issues of insecurity as the ultimate unrest in our nation. With no reasons to dispute that Nigeria currently is going through insecurity, like you rightly said. But then, as a president of the country, which we believe should also be inclined to international law, we see it as a disrespect, to Nigeria as a sovereign state. Yes, before we engage, there are rules of engagement. If Nigeria as a sovereign nation is in one way or the other having a bilateral agreement or a diplomatic agreement with the U.S., inviting the U.S. government to intervene in an issue, then it will be a different case. And then the reasons why I, as a person, which I'm also entitled to my opinion, will not support that effort is because the United States, when it comes to military intervention, has a very poor record, because we've seen instances of countries where they intervene and such countries were left in ruin, and Libya is a forceful example in Africa.
Amid insecurity that is currently affecting Nigeria as a country and its citizens, with different reactions from our respondents, who also called on the federal government to do the needful to boost the security of lives and properties of citizens. They also reacted and made reference to the intervention statement made by the United States of America's President Donald Trump, calling it a welcome development, and it should also be something that should be welcomed by the country. It is Viewpoint on ITV. I am Caroline Okonji.
Certainly the best.
TV, certainly the best.
Certainly the best.
Love, they say it's a beautiful thing. People generally want to love people and be loved in return. And this certainly includes persons with disability. On the program today, our focus will be on the conversation we started last week, disability, dating, and marriage for persons with disability. And last week, our guest was Gift Ezeani. She was on the program and she was indeed a delight. Today promises to be super exciting as well, as our guest today is from a different cluster within the disability community. She is a hearing impaired person or a deaf person. She is going to be giving us her perspective about what dating, marriage, the concept of love, what does it mean for a deaf person. Last week, we got a perspective of someone with visual impairment. Today, our perspective will be from the lens of a deaf person. This is how I like to welcome you to the program Hitches and Voices on independent television and radio. My name is Kingsley Okoje, and my sign language interpreter for today is Cynthia Godwin. I will go to the show proper, but before we do so, let me quickly introduce my guest properly. Her name is Millicent Ogbodu. She is a staff with the Edo State Civil Service. Millicent, welcome to Hitches and Voices.
Thank you.
All right, I'll start by asking the very first question. There's this, notion or perception that people have about the deaf, that the deaf do not trust other persons apart from themselves. Is that exactly true?
Yes, it is true. Yes.
Oh, you mean deaf people find it hard to trust other persons who are not deaf? And why so?
Why? The response is very, very clear. Because of communication. For example, if a deaf person, for instance, wants to get married to a hearing person, and that person does not understand sign language, how are they going to communicate? People with disability often depend on others to help them. So also, hearing impaired persons, they depend on the hearing persons to be their ears. But in most cases, the deaf find it difficult to trust the hearing because of communication gap. But if the hearing person understands their language, it becomes an easy thing.
Fantastic. So let's move to the subject of love, dating, and marriage proper now. This issue of communication that you raise, does it influence the kind of person a deaf person wants to be in a relationship with? The issue of sign language?
They would prefer, because of that communication gap, a deaf person would always prefer to date a fellow deaf person. For instance, if a hearing person is communicating with a deaf person, and peradventure, even if he's a deaf as well, assuming they are in the room and there is no light, how will they communicate? So that's just our own little way of illustrating communication gap between the hearing and the deaf. The deaf will always prefer 100% to date the deaf will prefer to date a fellow deaf person than a hearing person, so that they won't be in the dark at any point.
So what if you have someone who is not deaf, who is not hearing impaired, but understands sign language? Would a deaf person want to be in a relationship with that kind of a person?
Yes, I have but on very rare occasions, I have a friend who is deaf but got married to a hearing person, although the mother of the boy is also deaf. So you can see that it's still the deaf community. So, but in most cases, the deaf prefer to get married to a fellow deaf person. That couple now that I said got married to a deaf person that got married to a hearing person, the family is doing well and they are okay.
All right. It is very obvious from what you've said that marrying within the deaf community is prevalent. Deaf persons prefer marrying within their community rather than finding love outside. But if someone who can understand sign language is available, a deaf person wouldn't mind engaging in a relationship with that person. I think that's the sense you've made.
Yes, she said yes.
All right. I know people are a bit curious. People would want to know if a deaf person is in a relationship or goes into marriage with another deaf person and they have children, how would they communicate with their child? How would they raise their child such that it does not affect the speech of that child? People will be curious about that.
Most times, hearing impaired couple often have assistance from extended family members, like mother of the bride, mother of the groom, or any of their relation who can help probably to stay with them, or the children having to go and spend some time with those hearing persons to assist them. Then in their own way, in the absence of all of these other persons, they can use the television, expose the children to sound from radio, from television, from cartoons, from phones, so that they can build their hearing and also learn how to talk.
So it's not a challenge if a deaf person is in a relationship with a deaf person and they give birth. It doesn't automatically mean that the child would start having speech defects. Because people have that notion.
No. That it is God that has made that. None of them, in most cases, have ever given birth to a deaf person. It is very, very rare, although they are there. But they always give birth to hearing persons, and they're able to train the children to hear and also to speak.
Fantastic. So, as a deaf person, she would have interacted with deaf persons who oftentimes try to find love. What is the most difficult thing they face in trying to find a partner? What are their challenges?
Okay, he said in most cases, hearing impaired persons, they don't have challenge in having, in finding love. But she wants to understand if your question is for a deaf person to a deaf person or a deaf person and a hearing person. Which of them?
Fantastic. So if it's for a deaf person, it's not quite difficult for them. But if it's for a hearing person, it's a bit challenging.
Yes, she wants to know.
Okay, but I'm asking generally.
Okay, it is only when it is deaf to a hearing person that they will have challenge because of sign language. But if it is deaf to deaf, they usually don't have challenges. Because of communication gap, there will be a challenge between the hearing person and the deaf person. And the same trust issue that she raised before will also be there.
All right. I would like to ask her a personal question. Before she got married, did she have any experience where a hearing person asked her out? And how did she handle that?
She said yes.
What was that experience like for her?
She said she even dated a hearing person before, but it was very, very difficult. I tried to force myself to understand his speech. When he's talking, I tried to lip read, but I mean, it was very frustrating and I wasn't feeling comfortable at all. Sometimes we try to write, but that takes a lot of time and also it spoils my emotions. So I decided that I cannot marry a hearing person. I promised myself that I was going to marry a deaf person no matter what, that God will help me to raise my children. And that's where I am today. I am married to a deaf man from Benin. I have 4 kids, and we are happy together.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, we'll go on a quick break. We've been having a very interesting conversation with Millicent Odogwu, who's been sharing her experience with us, as perspective as far as love, dating, relationship, marriage for people with hearing impairment. When we come back from the break, we'll continue our conversation with Millicent. Welcome back from that break. If you've been following the program, you agree with me that we've been having a very exciting conversation with Millicent. She's been sharing her thoughts about love, marriage, and relationship for persons with hearing impairment. And for me, I've been having a nice time just listening to her. But I would also want to ask her a very important question. As deaf persons, what's your personal experience, or what have you noticed about the interference of other family members in your relationship?
Okay, for me, my personal experience has been a nice one. I'm very okay. My mother-in-law has been very helpful to me and my family.
So is it also important that people around you, your family, understand sign language as well?
No, they don't understand the standard sign language. We just use body gesture, and sometimes we write also. Most times we write. So we are able to understand each other.
Okay, we are in an era of technology now. I mean, technology has evolved over time. And I'm wondering within me, does technology help in any way to foster relationship between whether it's a deaf stroke, a non-deaf person, or a deaf to a deaf person? Has technology helped the deaf community to enjoy love, to enjoy relationship, to enjoy marriage better?
Yes, it has been very helpful. That we're able to use WhatsApp to communicate, we're able to do video calls, and they have been very helpful, exchanging messages and pleasantries through technological gadgets, especially WhatsApp has been very helpful to deaf community. Yes.
Fantastic. I mean, I'm wondering within me that in an era where these things didn't exist, I'm sure somehow the deaf community still find way to, find love, amongst themselves. There's this perspective too that people oftentimes want to take advantage of deaf people, particularly the deaf ladies. What's our thoughts on that?
Deaf ladies cannot communicate with their parents, so whatever that is going on with them, within them, around them, they cannot communicate. to their parents and also their loved ones. So communication gap remains the major challenge of persons with hearing impairments.
So communication is a big challenge within that community for those with hearing impairment. I mean,
yes, it is.
If they could communicate effectively, it's obvious people who take advantage of them will not have the opportunity to do so, I guess.
Yes.
All right, fantastic. I know people are also curious. I mean, and I'm sure she has seen people with hearing impairments marrying people who don't have any form of disability whatsoever. For instance, within the blind cluster, for those who are visually impaired, they feel it's more convenient for them to marry somebody who is without any disability. But I've learned today on the show that for deaf persons, they feel more comfortable marrying someone who is within their cluster, yes. And they feel it's safer for them, that way.
Yes.
But generally, what misconception does she think people have about deaf people and how they find love and relationship? What's that misconception she thinks people have about them?
Okay, the first misconception is that people feel that deaf persons, they usually get angry easily and that they are very violent.
That's a common misconception.
And that's, yes, and that depends on the situation that deaf has found his or herself. But generally, it's not true. I know that it can be very frustrating when they are trying to communicate and nobody understands them. But that notwithstanding, we still have a lot of deaf persons out there who are loving and caring, and they are nice to be with.
Okay, let's move into, I know this is outside love, dating, relationship. Let's move to another concern that we've had concerning the deaf community for a long time, the issue of accommodation. I'm aware of the fact that many landlords, landladies, owners of property often decline giving deaf people accommodation or renting their houses to deaf persons. What does she think about this? Is it not worrisome to her?
It is true. Sometimes the landlord themselves feel that because these people are deaf, they cannot pay. And they also feel that deaf people can also make trouble with other persons. But all of these are misconceptions. The deaf persons are not animals. We are humans like every other person. So if we go out in search of a place to rest our heads, it is within what we can afford. We don't go for what we cannot afford, and we never go out in search of accommodation with the intention of not wanting to pay rent or causing trouble. So we should be accepted in the society, and we should know that every one of us have his or her own challenges. If it is communication, for me, the phone has made it very, very easy for us to communicate with other people. But people don't even want to open up to accept us, so it becomes very frustrating.
All right, beautiful. Back to the love conversation and the relationship conversation. We've discovered that deaf people get married very early. You see 21, 25, deaf people in their mid-20s, early 20s, they get married very quickly. Why so?
You said the question is quite funny. That for her, she feels that whenever anybody finds love and you are matured enough, you have found love and you can take care of yourself and the family, why not? What matters it all is, has the person found love? If yes, and the person is matured enough, has all the resources, the person can go ahead to get married.
Prefer marrying within their cluster. Have they had situations where family would want to force them to marry people without, or a person without a disability? Has there been experiences like that?
Yes. Personally, when I was young, I asked my parents, please, can you allow me to get married to a deaf person? My father said it depends on me. And I asked my father again, do you mean it depends on me means I can marry either a hearing or a deaf person? My father still said, yes, it depends on me. Okay, but my mother actually wanted me to get married to a hearing person.
All right. But I'll ask this very final question. People also think, but I've seen, okay, if I say I've seen, some people will question it, but I've noticed that most deaf ladies are very beautiful. I mean, does she agree with that?
Yes.
I've seen a lot of beautiful deaf ladies in my lifetime, and that's quite fascinating. All right, it's been an interesting conversation on the program today, discussing or having a chat with Millicent Ogbodu. She's been on about the subject of love, relationship, dating for persons with hearing impairment. And I hope you learned a couple of things from her today. And she's been able to dispel some of those misconceptions people have about people with hearing impairment, particularly when they give birth to children. People often think that, oh, automatically, because the parents can't talk, it's definitely going to affect the speech of that child. That's really not the case. Thank you for following us on the program today. Thank you for watching on TV and listening on radio. We'll do this again next week. My name is Kingsley Okoje, saying spot the hitch and be a voice. Goodbye.
ITV, certainly the best.
Certainly the best.
Thank you very much for joining us on the program, Healthy Living. What is the kidney?
The kidney is an excretory organ in the body, which is for metabolism.
Tuberculosis affects many organs in the body, but the common ones it usually affects is the lungs.
Epilepsy is a neurological problem.
Okay.
It is an injury in the brain which causes someone to begin to convulse, to go into fits.
It is curable, but the cure is a long-term thing.
If you eat well and avoid those risk factors that will make your immunity to be down, then the risk of contracting tuberculosis will be reduced.
If you're healthy, then you're wealthy.
Thank you very much for joining us on the program, Healthy Living. What is the kidney?
The kidney is an excretory organ in the body, which is for metabolism.
Tuberculosis affects many organs in the body, but the common ones it usually affects is the lungs.
Epilepsy is a neurological problem.
Okay.
It is an injury in the brain which causes someone to begin to convulse, to go into fits.
It is curable, but the cure is a long-term thing.
If you eat well and avoid those risk factors that will make your immunity to be down, then the risk of contracting tuberculosis will be reduced.
If you're healthy, then you're wealthy.
ITV, certainly the best.